And then me and Scott started with Smodcast, and then later on we added a bunch of stuff. But getting in within the first 2 years, like, we happened.
Hey guys, guess what? Today's Sunday, and this is Josh.
This is Dimitri.
And we're doing a book review. What book, you might ask? Well, it's one of my personal favorites that's actually in my own library at home, which is Tough Shit, Life Advice from a Fat Man Who Did Good by Kevin Smith. As you can see, I own the physical copy and the digital copy.
That is true.
So Kevin Smith, for those who don't know, is a director from New Jersey.
Yep.
He was an average person like you and I,
Yep.
and everyone watching, hopefully. Unless
He
Kevin
used
Smith's
to
watching.
work in a gas station,
Yep.
actually, with his friends.
He worked in the gas station with his friends, and he wanted a different life, so he decided to direct his own movie called Clerks. Cult classic, shot in one take in black and white, which he maxed out his credit cards to do. And he had light film experience. He went to a film school like Steven Spielberg, this and that, but he's not Spielberg, and he knows that.
Yeah.
So this is basically like the Kevin Hart book. It's him breaking down his life and everything of that sort. So Kevin Smith, like I said, he used what his own life experiences to tell his story. That's what makes Clerks such a cult classic, because it's the life experiences that he went through, him and his friend Brian Johnson, through working in that gas station. And Vigil Rental is like a 7-Eleven, but in Jersey.
And he was inspired by his father throughout time, like comedy. Every time his dad used to come home, he used to work in the post office, and which is a little serious. And then his dad's way of expressing comedy was with his son. So by comedy DVDs, they used to watch Richard Pryor, I believe, and other ones. And it gave Kevin Smith the idea of laughter just brought into his life. And then, like Josh was saying, he was working at a gas station before, and he loved movies growing up, and he kind of wanted to do something different. He wanted to make an indie movie, something that he could tell his own story, like you were saying before. So Clerks was his first movie, and then it was Mallrats and
Chasing Amy.
Amy. That was a success. So,
but that came from a place in his heart
yeah,
that they say is one of his best movies, and there's something won't be able to touch it because of the emotion that Ben Affleck shows and all that. The story driven in it. But guess what? I just said Ben Affleck, and he helped launch the career of Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, through his movies like Dogma, Chasing Amy, Mallrats, because they're good friends.
yeah.
Jersey, was it Jersey Girl?
Jersey Girl, yeah, the movie with what's
George
the name?
Carlin.
Yeah, but wasn't Jersey Girl the movie that failed really horribly? And it had what's her name? Jennifer Lopez.
Yeah, Jennifer Lopez.
And Ben Affleck.
Yeah. He directed. Now all his movies are great.
No, I think his ratio was one good movie, one bad movie, so on indefinitely.
But guess what? He went to Sundance,
Yeah.
the biggest indie film showing in the world, and the room wasn't packed.
Yep.
It's not about how many people see your content, it's about who sees your content. And there was a guy who was under a lot of controversy today, Harvey Weinstein, with the whole sexual assaults and all that, and inappropriate sexual conduct.
Yeah.
But Harvey Weinstein saw him and enjoyed the movie.
Yep.
And that's how he started working with Miramax.
Yep.
And Kevin Smith throughout the book is just talk about the hustle as we all know it.
Yeah.
About working hard to it.
I mean, so his was a little bit different. First, like with Kevin Hart, it was like a little, like you learn analogies, you learn life lessons through his examples. With Kevin Smith, it's a little bit different. He's basically telling his story, and this idea of the story is that if I think it's like a fat shit like him, I think those are his exact words, can do it, so can anyone. And he came from Jersey, which he himself considered the shithole of the 50 states, I guess.
Yeah.
And how he's working hard, and like at that time, just going from Jersey to New York was like this scary thing that you just don't do because late at night New York was dangerous. And him and his friend used to just take the train or the car late at night to go to New York to watch his indie movies, and they got inspired by that. So what he's saying is that he's going out of his comfort zone to try something new and to explore what's out there in the world. And that's kind of how he went from directing movies to create his own podcast, to creating his own TV show, Comic Book Men, as among other things, to hitting on a girl who's
Way out his league. She's in Clerks too.
Yeah, she's in. Oh, okay.
Yeah, she was Dante's wife in Clerks too that he ended up breaking up with.
Oh yeah, no, I remember. Yeah.
White girl, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the whole thing, and he's showing that just because something doesn't seem attainable doesn't mean that you can't attain it.
Yeah.
Because all his goals have been out of the reach of normal people, as we think.
Yeah.
But he shot for the stars and ended up among them.
Yeah.
He didn't land in the moon. He actually made it.
Yeah.
Some may say, "Oh, he's not the best director," but guess what? He does what he loves for a living.
And he launched careers for a lot of people who are now megastars, like you were saying before, Ben Affleck.
Yeah, Ben Affleck, Matt Damon.
Yeah.
People thought he actually wrote Good Will Hunting. He helped them with it, but that's the impact he had.
Yeah.
And that movie was a classic. And he got to remember how Dimitri was saying that he watched all the stand-up. One of his favorite stand-up comedians was George Carlin,
Yep.
who he got to work with in Jersey Girl. Even though he didn't do good at the box office, he still enjoyed it.
Yep.
He worked with Chris Rock in Dogma. He's worked with so many great people.
He worked with Tracy Morgan, Bruce Willis, and some of the cool stuff we hear, like, you know, every book has this little thing, like when you interact with celebrities, how each celebrity has their own persona, whatnot, and we learned that apparently Bruce Willis is a complete dick on the set. But the reason why he's like that is because he, at a young age, he became such a mega star that that's the way he interpreted things to be. So he's like, I've been around movie sets for so long, I know how to direct this better than the director. So he was giving shit to Kevin Smith all the time. And he's like, oh, this is just the way it is, just one take. When Kevin was like, we need to do more. And at that time, Bruce Willis was a big fan of him. Kevin Smith was a big fan of Bruce Willis. So it was a letdown working sometimes with your heroes. Except for George Carlin, sorry.
Yeah.
For him, it was just he imagined.
Because if you think about it, he actually worked with Bruce Willis before that on Die Hard 4, or Live Free and Die Hard, one of the Die Hard, as a hacker. But as a co-star, he was treated like a friend. So he thought, yeah, I'll work with Bruce Willis on Cop Out.
And you also take he took 90% less salary for that movie too.
Just so that the movie could be made.
Yeah.
That's why it's not always about the money. Which is why I love Kevin Smith. People might not know this, but I'm a big fan. So he has all these films. He actually did films with Johnny Depp. He did a Great White North trilogy, a movie shot in Canada. Because he's a big fan of Canada. He likes hockey. That's why he always wears a hockey
Oh
jersey.
yeah, I remember I remember the name of the hockey star, but
Yeah. Wayne Gretzky.
yeah, Wayne Gretzky. He even got his hockey puck for one of his stand-up shows.
Yeah, and the whole thing is, he actually made all these movies, crowdfunded his own money. And if you guys seen the Apple commercials in the early 2000s, I'm an Apple, I'm a Mac, and I'm a PC. Justin Long, the I'm a Mac guy,
Yeah.
he was in the movie Tusk. Good for him. And he worked with another great actor there, but I forget his name, escapes me, but he worked with Johnny Depp on Yoga Hosers, which is with his own daughter, Harley Quinn Smith, and Johnny Depp's daughter are the main stars. So that's the whole thing. He works with a lot of great people, but yet he's not that known. He's behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And which is why, for prime example, they say money changes people. Money didn't change him.
No.
Because he still takes care of his friends. And one of the things he did was he went and bought a comic book store in his old neighborhood in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And he has 4 of his friends from childhood working there. And he owns it, and he made a TV show. AMC is like 6, 7 seasons now.
Yeah.
Because it's funny the thing friends do.
Yep.
And he probably loses money off the store, but guess what? He's paying his friends. It's like Kevin Hart.
Yep.
He paid his boys to travel with him so they didn't have to have normal jobs.
Speaking of helping his friend, one of his friends was dealing with addiction for a very long time.
Jason
And
Mewes.
he thought the good way of helping him is to talk about his problems. So he talked about it on one of his podcasts, and people loved it. And they created this whole podcast about him, just to talk about his addiction, the wild experiences he's had, all real. And as a result, the guy stopped taking drugs because it helped him just talking about it. He realized himself what kind of craziness he got to him, and it helps his best friend save his own life.
Yeah.
This podcast.
And Mewes now, Jason Mewes has a kid, he's married, and he lives down the block from Kevin Smith.
That's pretty cool.
No, it's not, because his daughter jokes all the time, oh, that's so sweet. You move nuts to your best friend. He's like, no, he moved nuts to me. I bought my house first. He bought his house from Johnny Depp.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Oh no, Ben Affleck, one of them.
I don't
But
know.
the whole thing is, even when you make it, you keep your friends close.
Yeah.
I'm leaving you when I make it. But back to podcast. Now in 2018, everybody's listening to podcasts. Gary Vee says podcast is a new thing, and 6 years ago, not that many people listen to podcasts, but guess what? I've been listening to podcasts since about 09 or 10 because of Kevin Smith. Smodcast Network. He has all these different shows on there, and he's a revolutionary in podcasts. Same thing with forums. He used to have one of the only web forums, and his fans could actually go and interact with it. He gave back to the fans.
Yeah.
He spoke with them. That's the whole thing. He
That's
built a
actually
community.
that's actually how he got his girlfriend at that time. He had a meeting with, at this time. His girlfriend to be was a reporter, and he was saying how he reads everything that they write in the form for him. She's like, no, you don't. He's like, test me out. Write in my form and see if I don't respond. 3 weeks later, she wrote in the form, and he responded. Constant chatter back and forth. Got a date, and the rest is history. Now I have a kid, Harley Quinn, like you were saying, Harley Quinn Smith.
And it's okay. In his wedding, when he got married, he went in with a Jay and Silent Bob hoodie.
Keeping it real, man. The way he was the whole time. Just
That's
the
the
way
whole
he is.
thing. You don't have to change.
No.
You don't have to feel a conformist thing. And this is why I like Kevin Smith. He doesn't make all the money in the world,
Yeah.
but he lives his dream and he lives it to his own terms. It's like he made a movie with Seth Rogen. Zack and Mary make a porno.
Yeah.
And before that, he didn't smoke. He's a big pothead. And
He is now.
Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
And they're very good friends from that.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. So now he learned that from Seth Rogen, and he learns from everything. He's a very humble person, which is why you can contact him and he'll respond back unless you're me.
That's true. We got email to prove that there's no response yet.
Yeah. So Kevin Smith, like I said, he's a humble person. He saw a movie about how bad sugar is. It's the worst kind of drug. And he stopped eating sugar. And he lost a lot of weight.
It's true. So, based on what you read, how are you going to implement from the book, Josh?
I'm going to stay humble. Stay humble. Don't let money change me. Stay true to myself and my friends. That's all it's about. But before we end, I want to say this. He talks about how his father died kicking and screaming in his sleep. And that's why he always says, why live a life if you're going to die kicking, screaming on someone else's terms? If you're going to die kicking and screaming, why not go out on your own terms? Stop associating yourself with the whys. Everybody's saying, I want to start a business. Why? I want to quit school. Why? I want to launch a podcast. Why? Go with the why not people. And Dima's one of those. I have a couple other, like my friend Lewis, always tell me, why not? Go for it.
Exactly. I mean, this podcast, this YouTube/podcast is all about why not. I mean, before I didn't really read books. It wasn't my thing, Josh, and I tried to keep myself
Why not?
Well, serious, because I just was never real into it. And I thought, one way of doing that is just keep someone responsible for me as well. So I have someone to check into. Kind of, like I call anonymous to check in someone. That way I've been reading more books. I read this book right here by Kevin Smith. And just overall, I'm learning, I'm growing as a person. Now we've created something as well where we can share with other people who maybe never heard of this or heard of this and want to say something about it.
Yeah.
So I mean, now's the opportunity for anyone.
So that's basically it for this
Yeah.
book review. So if you guys enjoyed it, read the book.
And write a comment if you enjoyed what you saw.
Yeah, write a comment, check out the book. Check out Kevin Smith on YouTube for one of his talks or his stand-ups on Showtime.
Yeah.
He had a heart attack right after stand-up, but guess what? It was a hell of a stand-up. So we'll catch you guys later.